Okay, so the message that came through is a more advanced message. So I'm going to be extremely intentional about this entire video. Okay, so we're going to start with the intention like always. I intend to serve as simply a reflection of that which you already know so that you may discover more of yourself. Okay, so the message that came through is casting shadows, elemental, unrequited, haunting, ephemeral, and at the bottom of the deck it was moribund. All right, so reviewing the message, it looks like I was actually drawn back to something that and this is a new scope. This message is going to be for more like the occultists, the esotericists, like those that are really on a more like Rosicrucian, um, deeper occult knowledge. I think, if you're interested in that kind of thing, or if this even excites you in some way, stay for it. I'm going to fumble my way through it the best of my ability. The energy came through, so I have to honor that, and I'm going to do the best that I can with this. Okay, so I was brought back to Rudolf Steiner, right? Something that I saw on Rudolf Steiner, and artificial elementals, and so we're going to kind of get into that as well. But basically, what this feels like to me is for the rest of us, right? It feels like there is a acknowledgement here that something that you are projecting with casting shadows, right? You are like through the attempt, or it might not even be malicious, of casting your shadows on others, you are actually creating artificial elementals, which are the best way I can describe them is they are like energetic entities. All right, well, let's back up. Natural elementals are earth, air, fire, water, those energetic beings that assist in the balance of the earth, right? So, like gnomes, whatever your belief system is of those naturals. I think Rudolf Steiner was like gnomes and sylphs, something like those types of those creatures, right? Um, they're here as helpers, right? They help. So artificial elementals are of a more negative or a lower vibrational elemental that all of us can create and do create on a regular basis. Because remember, thought forms, any kind of thought form is subject to creation, right? It does create something. Um, and then they kind of stick to us throughout our life, right? So through your, I'm going to say it's unintentional. I mean, I guess it might be intentional. I like to believe the best, of the divine beings that are here. But sometimes, we're very far removed from who we actually are, and we unintentionally or sometimes intentionally, um, that saying, "throw in shade," right? Um, that's very similar to what I believe casting shadows to be, right? So you're taking something that is within yourself that you are unhappy with, and you are projecting that out onto another human being and deflecting any responsibility of your, your own shit, right? And you're putting it on somebody else. Well, what that does is that creates these artificial elementals. I mean, you can kind of think of them as like demonic possession, kind of, but not quite as intense as um, Christian and Catholicism, wherever that originates from. Not quite that severe. Okay, so you're creating these things, and they're unknowingly attaching to unknowingly attaching to you, and it's done by the next card is unrequited. So it's done through projecting love in a way, or loving something, or creating a great deal of value on something that inherently does not have the ability to return that love. So I think this relates as far as like materialism, um, placing great value on things that have relatively low significance for your soul's growth, but investing so much into that thing, desiring it so much, investing so much into it, that it supports the development of those um, artificial elementals. And then the next card is haunting. And haunting talks about a staying around longer than you would like, or staying around longer than you are welcomed. In this case, it's the same energetic trail here. Like, you were thinking negative thoughts, whether it was about self or whatever, you projected it outward to another human being, which is you, just having a different perspective. You created this negative elemental entity, right, which then attached back to you. And whether that entity was because of you were felt that the love that you were giving another person was unrequited, or that you were loving things of the world that cannot love you in return. And it could also be the genuine love projected to another individual that just does not have the capacity to love you back. And what that was doing is that was outstaying its welcome here. And then we have ephemeral, which talks about the finite nature of things, like the impermanence of things, ephemeral, meaning that it does not last forever. It is only here. It is impermanent. Okay. And then the incoming energy is moribund, which is about decay. It is about inevitable decay, or the breakdown of such a thing. Okay, and then under that we do have the Morrigan, and the Morrigan it portends doom. It's like faded doom. And then we have Cauldron as well, which is generating, like in the works. Like, if you think, like, it's like conjuring. Okay, conjuring. All right, conjuring is kind of a strong word, but it's very much that energy of like spell casting, conjuring, creating. It's like it's creation, pretty much. And then the beyond, which is outside and infinite. Well, it's memories, but it is here. I think it relates to the attachment of this, because as soon as you create this, the human being itself is like a palette, or like a playground for elementals to attach to. So these attachments, if you don't shed the attachments, which is interesting that I want to use the word attachments, because this whole life is about non-attachment. But if you don't shed these things, if you're not aware of them, they will actually carry through to the next incarnation, if that's what you believe in. Okay, so that's a little bit further than what I wanted to go. As like in a simplistic message here, if you want to stop here, this is basically, you have negative beliefs, right, that you are projecting onto another person. Okay, that is now creating like a perpetuating cycle. And it's likely because this person doesn't feel the same way about you, or you feel like you invested a great deal in this person and they are not returning that feeling to you. And this message is about that feeling has outstayed its welcome, and it is time to recognize its impermanence and let it go before it begins to decay within your soul. That almost feels like it was too complex. Okay. You have a crush, or you were dating somebody and it was semi-serious, and you invested a great deal and you were used and then discarded, and you are projecting your pain onto that person in whatever way, and it is creating negativity that is attaching to you, right? Because you're not dealing with your own shit. So it's creating negativity that's attaching to you because of it, and it is outstaying its welcome. And it is essentially, you have to remember that both the good and the bad are impermanent, and but you're attached to this negative feeling and it's starting to decay within you, which is like poison to the soul. That's funny. I should have just let the camera roll because my tiny human came in and gave me a no bullying bracelet. Okay. Um, all right. So that is the very elementary um, message here as far as how this is currently being seen in your experience. Um, Also, if that doesn't resonate fully with you, there's somebody in your environment that is doing the same thing. So, with casting shadows, this is not only you projecting your shadows or throwing shade, right, in their direction, but they could quite possibly be doing that. This also speaks about forcefully trying to change your perspective. So, the reason that you are here is for your unique perspective. That's why you're here, right? Because it, as an effort for all that is to experience everything that there is, um, you have to have the unique perspectives, seeing things from every single angle. So that's why you, fractal source energy, has come down here to have a unique perspective and to then add that information back into all that is, or infinite intelligence, or cosmic consciousness. So, like, your perspective is so unique and so needed. That's why every human is here, is for that, so that they can have the experience and send that experience back to source energy so that source can know everything. Like, does that make sense? I know that know everything's probably not the right vibration, but it's close enough. Um, so you have somebody that is forcefully trying to change your perspective on something. Like they're trying to cast their shadow, right? Whatever method, whatever is being triggered within them that they feel that they need to control you and what you think or how you feel about something, that would be the same as casting shadows. So doing that, they are creating artificial elementals, um, these, like, if you want to think of them as like dark clouds, like just negative thought forms, you can think of them as negative thought forms too. So they're creating these negative thought forms, lower vibrational energy signatures, right, that are attaching to them, attempting to attach to you if you accept that energy incoming. So if somebody is trying to do this and it is causing you distress, then you are accepting that artificial elemental to become attached to you, or a negative black cloud or a negative thought form, because you are taking it and you are putting it into your mind, right? And it is creating a feeling within you like, why are they doing this? Or that person is such a bee, or like whatever the feeling is, it is affecting you in some way. So therefore that negative elemental, that artificial elemental, is now attached to you. This could be unrequited, like you don't agree with their opinions and they are offended because you don't agree with their opinions. So now they are desperate to try to change your perspective on something. And the message from source at this time is that you're like, this is outstayed its welcome, and it needs to be recognized that it has outstayed its welcome with haunting. It is here too long, and you need to recognize that these things also need to end with ephemeral. Like everything ends, you need to end this thought pattern. You need to remove this person from your experience. You need to end this pattern of negative beliefs This needs to end because it's starting to decay your soul, or it's eating through your perspective, which is unique. And we need you to be just you, as you are, what you believe. Even if it changes from moment to moment, that's great. Everything that you think needs to be pure in nature, meaning generating from you in the moment, not like needs to be moral or ethical or anything like that. I mean, you would prefer that, but like just screw that, because that's just the definition of good and bad, and we don't need the definitions. We need the actual experience. Okay, so the decay here, this is inevitable to decay. Like, to me, that's like stinking, rotting grossness that is happening within your beautiful, divine soul. See what I mean? It doesn't actually decay the soul, but it's decaying you, your experience, which is limiting your soul. And if moribund wasn't bad enough, then we have the Morgan coming underneath, which is, this is like a fated, destined, predictive doom. That's what this is. Like, this is predictive. This is one of those cards that when it pulls, you'll hear me say I don't usually do predictive readings, right? Because of free will. Things that you will hear me say is, you get a tower, expect it in the next 6 weeks. Same thing with this. I don't even have a time for this. This is outside of my scope, right? It's already being, it's in the works already with Cauldron. Like, all of the components are there for this fated event to occur. That's just impending doom regarding this nasty decay from somebody else's garbage, right? But this somebody else's garbage is inside you now, or attached to you now, and it's negatively impacting you at this current time. Okay, is there anything else that I wanted to say? Oh, so those artificial elementals, right? So like, what, according to like Steiner, that those artificial elementals, they're basically just things that they're like mini programs, right? So if you think of our 3D existence or this earth existence as like running playing a game, like you're an avatar and you're playing a game, these artificial elementals are like mini programs that you run in conjunction with the main program. And it's basically like doubling down on the illusion and it's like doubling the veil almost to me. It kind of seems like reinforcing disillusionment. It would be like how you would feel after like binge watching those newscasts on repeat for a month. Is kind of what it feels like. You know, like those, what everybody, I don't know, I don't watch the news, but you know, those very specific news that only show one side, excuse me, gosh, that benefits them, you know, kind of like that. It's almost like brainwashing you to believe the Matrix, doubling down on the codes of the Matrix, keeping you within materialism and illusion. Okay. All right. So for those of you that are still here, for the occultists and esoterics that are still here that are looking for more, that's all the information that I have for you. That's all. Okay. So I'm going to switch over to more like, you know, what I do. And we're going to get some information on the more layman's message here. Okay. Oh my gosh. All right. Do we want to know about the shadows? Okay. So what I can do at this time is I can actually pull some shadow cards. So whether these are being pressed upon you, these could be some of the things that this person that is in your environment is trying to, the reasons behind why they are trying to change your perception, like what is triggering within them, 2020 on the timer, what is triggering within them that they are trying to, they're not even trying, they're just trying to pass that shit off onto you because they don't want to deal with it. This could also be what you are projecting onto others, what shadows that you are casting onto them in an effort to, again, not take care of your own shit. Take it as it resonates. Okay. What shadows are being highlighted at this time? Okay, intolerance. So narrow-mindedness. Well, of course, that would be if they are trying to change your perception at all. It's because they are narrow-minded in nature. They want to control in that way. They want you to see it their way. They don't see it any other way. And it is inflammatory for you to see it any other way because it belittles their belief system. What else? Anything else at this time? Okay, blamer, same thing, projection, right? Unaccountable. Me against the world blames others for their mistakes. I mean, that's exactly in line with it, not wanting to deal with it, not wanting to take accountability for anything. It's your shit, and you are putting it on somebody else because you don't want to deal. You meaning is it the person or you? Take it as it resonates. Okay, unforgiving, merciless, uncompromising, grudgeful. It feels like we're just doing the same thing over and over here. All right. Okay. Oh, interesting. We have incurious, willfully blind, not learning lessons, not curious, not observant. Take a look at what she's doing. You know, same thing comes back to intolerant and then draining, which is essentially what they're doing. You know, every time that you project a shadow, even acknowledging shadow, right? You are draining that precious life force energy that you are gifted with every day that you wake up. You have like that, I call it an allowance for the day. That allowance is supposed to maintain your physical health, you know, by natural restoration of cells, of healing properties. That energy coming in is supposed to do that. You're supposed to be able to dispense it to others, utilize it for your daily activities, you know, things like that. A lot of times what we do is we give little bits of our daily allowance of energy, of life force, you know, give a little bits of it to our childhood wounds, our traumas, you know, by giving our focus, wherever your focus goes, that's where your energy is going. So we like give some of it to our past, we give some of it to that really horrible relationship that we have memories of and we focus on. You know, you gave it to negative Nancy at work when you entertain her complaining. This person is obviously in a deficiency and they are looking to get that energetic source from another human, which happens to be you. All right, anything else? Last card. Oh, we have Gosper Shadow. That might be just directly related to my negative Nancy. See, same thing, the creation of creating those things. Loves drama. Okay. So those are some of the shadows that you might be experiencing or you might be projecting. All right, I do have a deck on elementals, which I don't ever use, but I think I'm going to grab it and so that we can get, well, let's just see what messages, if any. Now, these are going to relate to natural elementals, but let's see how they can correlate to the shadow aspects and the generation of artificial elementals. They might not. It was intuitive, so let's see what comes out. Okay. So we have moonlit meadows, plasma potential, and celestial currents. And then at the bottom, mystic monsoon. So it looks like we have 2 air, 1 fire. Wander through moonlit meadows where gentle touch of moonbeams offers serenity. Tap into the plasma potential within, unlocking the transformative power of your inner fire. Ride the celestial current. No, this is a water. Ride the celestial currents guided by cosmic energies that shape your destiny. And then another water. Okay, so the only thing that I'm getting here is actually is the only one that is not represented here. We have air, fire, water, so we're missing earth, and that would be in alignment with a artificial elemental, because those are typically more, they're not related to nature, but they are created out of materialism and focus on illusion that is created here on earth. So I think that that's the only message that's going to come out of this. Because those are genuinely like elemental properties. All right. Unrequited, I think we took haunting, ephemeral. All right. Is there any advice? Let's get some advice and close this out, because this was this is exciting for sure. Like, I enjoy this kind of stuff, especially when it highlights areas of knowledge that that interest me, and highlight where I have just fragments of information on, because then it gives me something to binge watch Netflix and binge watch Gaia, binge watch YouTube. Rabbit hole research. That's what it is. It triggers my rabbit hole researcher shadow. All right, High Priestess. High Priestess is coming out as your supporting energy or your advice for right now. Like, tap into self. Use your intuition. This is the one that holds knowledge. Like, you have everything that you need right inside. That is interesting that that came out because of the nature of the message. You know what? Okay. Heard and acknowledged. So I'm being guided to use the Jungian archetype. What else for the viewer at this time? And then we're going to go back to tarot for actions. What else? What other supporting energies or what advice? What other messages? It, which under Jungian is the hero. It's the journey towards self-discovery and mastery over challenges. So that is your willpower, your determination, your drive. At the bottom of the deck, we have the moon, which is the labyrinth. Now, this is going to be the journey into the unconscious for those that are projecting those shadow aspects outwardly. 2929 on the timer. It's interesting. It's 1111. All right, actions. Ace of Pentacles. So now is your opportunity. Four of Swords. That is taking time to go within. That is resting. That is meditating. I think this picture, this is actually focused on meditating, meditating on the truth. And then we have Queen of Swords. This is cutting out energies that no longer serve you. This is being discerning. This is finding the things that are not good for you and removing them from your environment, removing them from your experience, removing them from the mental chatter. Being brought back to before the decay. What else? Any other actions that can be taken at this time? I feel like knowledge, for those of you that stayed this long. All right. Everything you do out of love. You know, with the King of Cups, love of self, love for others, because that is the same thing. Loving others is loving self. Hurting others is hurting self. We are all one. And then the Eight of Swords. The imprisonment here is of your own making. And you have spiritual sovereignty. You have ultimate authority. Whether you are casting these shadows or you are the recipient of the attached energies from the shadows being cast your way. Either way, it is your acceptance of those energies, acceptance of those thoughts which generate from your thoughts. That is allowance. You are allowing those things to remain with you. You have ultimate authority for the removal of those things. You have the power to do that. Last action, so we can close this out. The sun. The sun. I like it because it just has a good energy, you know. Naked babies in the sun, that's a good energy. But here it's actually talking more about illumination. Remember how I said that, did I say that out loud? Knowledge. I think that knowledge, especially if this reading interested you in any way, sparked some sort of like, knowledge at this time. Illumination. Illuminating those shadows, they won't be shadows anymore. Okay. That was fun. Thank you for whoever co-created that with me. That is really neat. And I really like that you are levels above me at this time. So anytime that I can read for you, you want to send that energy to me, that would be awesome. And you can just bear with me as I fumble my way through it. But thank you so much for that co-creation. That was fun. Okay, you are unconditionally loved and supported by the universe. My unconditional love to you as well. And until next time, take care of yourself.